E te iwi tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora everybody, Che Wilson here from Che's channel, Te Pai Pai Waho, e mihi atu ana I roto I tēnei pō, tēnā tātou. Kia ora everybody, yeah, this is part 4 on family reunions, and before I get into it, I'll just open us up and hope everybody's an awesome day. Karanga kia rangi nui e tui o nei, karanga kia pape e takutoa kene. Te putunga o te kōrero, te putunga o te wānanga ka puta ki wao, ki te waiao ki te ao mārama. Hui e tāiki e. Tāiki e kia tātou I roto I tēnei pō. E mihi ana, e tangi ana ki o tātou mate, ko te pāpā rāna, I wakao ki atu ki te iwi nui I tērā wiki. Tātū atu ki tēnei wātonu kei te tuahine, siesi, ko koe tēnā kei tonga tapu, e moe. Kimi ia I te ara ki te pai o te lea, ki haamonga, ki e rā wā I tūpuna, o ti rā ki ngā nui o la baha. No reira, kei te tuahine, siesi, korua ko te pāpā rāna, koutou katoa ki te pō, e moe, e oki. Hoki tonu mai kia tātou, e mihi nei, e tangi nei, kia ora tātou. So kia ora everybody. Yeah, well, it's getting colder now, and we're in Haratua. We're in the last month of the year, the last month of the Māori year at least. And as I was taking the rubbish bin out to the road tonight, looking at the stars, I could see Whānau, out to the west. I could see more north, northish actually, and I could see Rehua to the east, and then the normal stars in the south, so Mārere o Tonga, Atutahi, etc., with Mahutonga there as well. But it's just made me think about it being the end of the year, and it's time for reflection as we get ready to welcome the new year. And even though everybody will recognize it at different times, whether that's at the new moon, the full moon, or the tangaroa moons of Pipiri, it's that time where we acknowledge a change of season and the start of a new year. So it's a bit of reflection time, I suppose. Hoi anō. Let's move to the kaupapa. This is the last kaupapa on whānau reunions. We did an introduction session. We did a session on whakapapa. We did a session on history and tikanga. And tonight is group activities. And I'll summarize everything as well. So group activities is pretty straightforward, whānau. What are the things that you as a family like to do? And as I think about my own family reunions, on mum's side, we'll usually get up and do some exercise, some music, and all of those types of things. And we'll usually go visiting sites of significance. On dad's side, the first ones to get up are those doing golf. Next ones, those doing tennis, and those doing breakfast get up at the same time as tennis. And then once golf and tennis are finished, breakfast is usually ready for everyone else to have gotten up as well. And then again, we will also go to sites of significance. I think those sites of significance are key, because that's where you pass on your history and your tikanga. But in addition to that, even though golf and tennis are played in the morning, you then actually have family sports later on. And so those family sports, actually, my first cousins up north, they've got a cool system where they split themselves up rather than staying in their family groups. And so it's a mix of their whānau. They're all colour coordinated, so those are their groups. And the competition is fierce. But they're group activities where everybody throughout the age groups can participate to make it fun, exciting, and it doesn't just need to be sports. So it can be whatever you call fun as a whānau, whether that's treasure huts, great escapes, all of those different things, and the different hikoi. And it's really up to you. And what I like about group activities is how can you have some fun and do some learning at the same time? And the more that we can be teaching whakapapa, tikanga, and history, that just helps embed your identity and connection to each other. And the beauty with competition is it just keeps things hopefully healthy and not dangerous. So when I think about whānau reunions, it's really important to utilize these activities to also do chores. And I think I covered this earlier, but those chores, so each team, they have a turn at breakfast. So it's not being left to the same person all the time. And you don't have those family members who just are expecting to be waited on all the time. And you make sure that those chores are spread out between those that are staying at the marae and those that might be staying away from the marae at a hotel or wherever else. So that those that are away from the marae also aren't dodging. Because that just creates too much raruraru and people get hoha with each other. The other thing to do, kia ora te mate. The other thing is that as you do those different activities, it's how do you create some other things where what we've done at different hui is we won't set the marae up at all. And we do that so that for all of those that return home and it's their first time to reconnect properly, then we teach everybody how to set up a marae, how to do the mattresses and the warepuni, how to set up the warepuni, and especially if you've got things like pāriki, because there's actually a proper way to lay the pāriki. And before you had fitted sheets, all the old style sheets which weren't fitted, the flat sheets, they were actually laid the same way you laid a pāriki. And so you can teach all of that stuff. Then you can go down below and you teach people how to set up a dining room, and then the normal cooking chores and all of that. So that what you're doing is you're passing on knowledge, sharing it with the people and helping them be prepared for whenever you have tangi so that people come home to help, but also when others pass away that have helped you, you can go back and do the same for them. So, all those group activities don't just need to be about sports and having fun, but they can also be around learning. So I just wanted to share a bit around group activities for whānau reunions, and now just going to do a summary of all of the different points I've covered. So I've done group activities. Going back to the first one, whakapapa, learning generations, and Auntie Mabel, who's actually your great aunt, you might call her aunt in English, but when you talk to her in Māori, she's actually nana, because she's from the same reanga as your kuia. And even though in English we call them grand aunt or just auntie, when you speak to them in Māori, it's e kui. So we talked about whakapapa, we talked about the importance of understanding your generations, and it's really easy to get confused because you will address them with English terms, and then you translate that English term into Māori, and you've got to make sure your reanga is correct, your generation is correct. So if it's the same great generation as one of your grandparents, then you might call them auntie and uncle, but actually they're nana and koro or kui and koro. And then the same going down, you might be 15 and you don't want that little baby who's 5 to call you nana or koro, but if they're a grandniece generation, then they're your mokopuna. Full stop, get over it. Because vanity gets in the way of making sure that whakapapa is correct. So that's whakapapa. Colour coding your whakapapa on your tags can also help as well. And then the history and tikanga and getting some really simple goals to ensure what do you want to do. I know one wānanga I used to do. For the first 2 years, all I wanted is for those young ones to leave the maunga calling our mountain koro. And if they can get to that space, that was a massive goal, because they then would start to build a personal relationship with him. And now that that's worked perfectly, you add extra goals, and as you add extra goals, it just takes you to a really good place to grow people's knowledge and connection to who they are. One thing I've learnt with all of these Kauhau sessions and kōrero that I've shared is you should never assume that people know things, even if they've been raised at the marae, or even if they're fluent Māori speakers. I've learnt a lot from all of you in your sharing and asking of questions, so I want to acknowledge that as well. But I think that's it for tonight. Pretty straightforward. Sharing of reunions and the different things that you do to help build identity. And when I think about building identity, and I think about what's being shared at the moment in preparation for puanga or matariki for the new year, I think it's really important for us to gather our thoughts, to remember the special people in our life that have passed over the last year, to acknowledge the challenges that people are going through right now as we transition and navigate a future world with various pandemics, but also how we look after each other as we enter into winter, because it's cold. So ka te ake, e mihi ana kia tātou. One final shout out to my old university mate, Siesi, who passed away in Tonga this week. Kei te tuahine e moe. She used to keep a lot of me and my Māori brothers in line, growling us, giving us cheek, but also had the privilege in my postgraduate year, my honours year, to go to Tonga with her and a few others. And her house, her family house, was next to Paipai, which is their old tuahu, Paipai o Tele and Labaha, and learnt heaps while I was there, and been reminiscing about our tuahine over these last few hours since I found out about her passing. No reira, kei te tuahine e moe, e oki. O tira tātou katoa, stay well, stay warm, and new kaupapa next week. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia o kaire ake ngā kupu ki te tāhuhu nui, o rangi nui e tūnei, turuturu o hiti waka maua kia tīnā, hui e, tai ki e kia tātou, ho Māori.